All right. Good afternoon, dear participants of Ite et Docete 2.0. Welcome back to our plenary session. We hope that you enjoyed the different sets of breakout sessions that you were part of this morning and a while back. For the last part of our virtual conference, we will be hearing from a special panel of school teachers, organizational head, sustainability advocates, and we are going to discuss and reflect on why we need to encourage the youth to respond to the call of Pope Francis in Laudato Si and live out the Christian and universal ideals of sustainability and stewardship. To start off, may I call on Mr. Jim Toscano, the moderator of today's panel discussion, to introduce and welcome our speakers. Jim?
Thank you, Kat. It is my honor to introduce the distinguished members of the panel. However, before I continue, and I just want to make sure that our chat box is clear because right now it's a panel discussion and I know you will have a lot of ideas. A lot of you are asking for the link for attendance. I'm going to address that right now so that no one will post about it later on because we will have a panel discussion. I'm pretty sure we'll have ideas. We will make sure that you have a copy of the links, right? It's okay. You don't need to say sorry if your place is raining, if you have unstable internet connection. Those are things that we cannot stop. It's out of our control. So no more posts because mawawala yung mga nice ideas natin. What we want right now in the chat box are your ideas. So make sure that you are able to put your ideas later on as we have the panel. So I hope that's clear. Don't worry. I will be the one explaining on about the things that we will do afterward so that you get the 5 credit units for this conference. Okay? So good afternoon, everyone. So it's 3 p.m. I don't know if this is your siesta time, but we want you to stay awake. So please make sure that you listen to our discussion. Now, again, it's my honor to introduce the distinguished members of the panel. Father Benigno Beltran of the Society of the Divine Word, the Chief Executive Officer of Veritas Social Empowerment Incorporated. Mr. J. Jaboneta, co-founder of the Yellow Boat of Hope Foundation. Mr. Allan Arellano, Executive Director of the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, and Mrs. Andrea Chaveli de la Cerna, the Assistant Principal for Formation of the High School Unit of Xavier School, San Juan. Ms. Carmela Santos, the Director of the Office of Ateneo of the Ateneo de Davao University, will be joining us shortly. All right. So good afternoon, dear members of the panel. Just a short round of hi and hello. How are you right now? Let's start with Father. Father, how are you?
Surviving, but we're on top of the world now because we're partnering with Microsoft International and Facebook International for our environmental, economic, and educational projects.
Thank you, Father, and we would love to hear more about that later on. How about our other dear panels? Sir Mr. Arellano, how are you?
We're good. We've been busy in CAP. Just came from a couple of days of summit for Higher Educational Commission with the Philippine Catholic School Standards launch. And then there was a webinar on the statement of CAP on the elections. So we've been quite busy lately.
All right. And it's great to hear about those projects, even with the upcoming election. Jay, Mr. Jaboneta, how are you?
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, I'm doing well. And just like Father Beltran, I just received, I was able to negotiate a 25 million peso donation to Yellow Boat for Typhoon Odette rehabilitation efforts. So we're very happy.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Jay, for the update. And of course, our very own Mrs. De La Serna. How are you?
Hello, Jim. I'm good. I just want to congratulate your team. I've been attending throughout the day and very inspiring breakout sessions. So just like everyone else, good, tired, busy, but full of hope.
Right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to our dear participants for still staying with us until now. And yeah, we're very excited. So please make sure that you use the chat box to interact with us. We will try to read all your insights and your comments and your questions as we proceed with the panel. So let me start immediately with our first question, dear members of the panel. We've talked about sustainability, stewardship, whole day long. But then again, I think it's very important to really speak this out. Why is it essential for teachers and schools to engage the youth to live out and advocate for sustainability and stewardship? What do we hope to gain from in doing this for our youth? So anyone who would like to start?
I would like to start, since we are talking about Docete, and I am the oldest by far, so I have the privilege. No, I'm only joking. Because there would be no planet if there will be no sustainability. Your schools will disappear. Businesses will disappear. There are schools that say, save the planet, drop the plastic there. The planet does not need saving. It will be here 5 billion years from now until the sun will become a supernova. It's us. We are being threatened. We, right now, by climate change, by our greed. They're making war in Ukraine, and China is just waiting to attack Taiwan. But the kids should be told that it's for them and their children. It's not a long-term thing. In a few years, even next year, we will have more Odettes. And Mr. Jaboneta will need more donations. Actually, we will pray for that. We are working with Odette, with Microsoft. We have some apps to make efficient, Mr. Jaboneta, the giving out of because that's where the blocks happen. So I would like to go back that I am really insistent on this because Pope Francis said, for the first time in human history, the continued existence of the human race, which includes teachers and students, are being put in the balance. We do not make good decisions, the human race will disappear from the face of the earth. Scientific, not only religious. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for my fiery speech, but I grew old in Smoky Mountain and I know how it devastates lives.
Thank you, Father. I think we need that fiery enthusiasm right now. How about the rest of the panel? Anyone?
Can I go? I just want to go next, no? I totally agree with what Father said. Why do we need to teach sustainability and stewardship? Because our survival depends on it. I think what he said was perfect. Diba? This is not just to think about the future generation, it's how we will survive, because there are needs right now that have to be met, but not just at present. We have to also think about the future, and these kids are the ones who will live the future. And if nobody will bring this to their awareness, nobody will teach them about it, then how will they survive? So it's really about survival. I agree totally with what he said. We always say care for Mother Earth, care for Mother Earth. But it's really about how do we take care of ourselves? Like if there's no food in the food chain, there's no resources, no water, and calamities will struck us. Diba? Very so often, who needs caring? It's really us. So I have nothing else to add, but I agree with what Father said, that it's really for survival of this generation. Like if we love our children, we will teach them about sustainability because it is for them.
Thank you, Chaveli. And Jay works with the community, with different communities, not just in different parts of the Philippines. And Mr. Arellano works with different schools. From your perspective, where is the essentiality or the essence of doing this? Where is this coming from also?
First, I would like to support what Father Benigno said and Ms. De La Cerna. We really need to educate our kids, our students, no? Because they are the ones who are going to need to immerse themselves into the realities of tomorrow. We only have a couple of centuries. Scientists are saying the human race will be extinct in a couple of centuries, and we're starting that now. No, with all these conditions that we have created because of our consumption pattern, our consumerism. So we are going to end up just like all the other species, no? Ang average lifespan ng isang species sa mundo ay 1 million. This is our species started 300,000 years ago, no? But mukhang maikli ang ating lifespan because of our ability to develop, evolve, and use our resources. And we have destroyed most of the sources of these materials that we're using. So we need to educate our students that their consumption pattern, their lifestyle, contribute to this impending destruction of the human race, if I may say so.
I love that Mr. Arellano spoke about, letting our students understand that their lifestyle can actually contribute. Our own lifestyle actually contributes. How about you, Jay? Very interesting perspective, I guess, from you, Jay.
Yes, I agree with what everyone has mentioned, but I think it's very important to echo what Jose Rizal said, ang kabataan ng pag-asa ng bayan. I think the youth is the hope. If there are foreigners in the audience, so the youth is the hope of our country. I believe it applies to every country, and I think it's even more urgent now because the pace of technology and change is really accelerating at at a faster pace. I still remember the day when there was when I was young, there was no internet, there was no mobile phone, there was no computers. But I think now the kids they grow up with all technology. What happens when suddenly something happens and all this technology, even electricity, for example, will it won't function. Are they able to adapt to that kind of reality? So I think it's very important for us to really educate, and I think in a way we're going back to values formation, and that's why I really like this event or conference. We need to kids, especially on the science part, technology part, there's the internet, they can learn it at their fingertips, but I think the values, survival skills, those real world skills, like for example social skills, how to negotiate, how to interact with others in an offline setting. And of course, what we're very conscious with in Yellow Boat is really the divide, not just the digital divide, but also the access to this new literature. I think part of our mission in Yellow Boat is really, what if the cure for cancer? What if, the solution to some of our biggest problems is in the minds of these kids who are not able to go to school because, of a distance or a barrier, of a physical barrier. So that's why I think it's even more urgent now to really get our minds and every school, I think every school commits to the UN SDGs, but I think it's really important to to now really incorporate it in the classroom, how each grade school pupil can really contribute to the achievement of the SDGs.
Thank you, Jay. And a while ago, if I was going through our sessions, and we were so happy because a lot of our speakers are actually mentioning on how the sustainable development goals could be integrated, not just in the academics part, but even in the formation part of every teacher. So thank you for pointing out that, Jay, and we hope that the participants actually got ideas. And very interesting insight from Rogen Palmes, who says our micro doings will bring macro effects to our mother nature. Good doings, negative doings, I think we all get that. Thank you, Rogen. So for our dear participants, we asked our dear panelists to share one project that they have done within their organizations or even within their school. So we have this opportunity now to listen to their projects and maybe have some information or maybe an insight to how they advocate for sustainability and stewardship on their communities. Let me start with Jay.
Thank you, Jim. Well, for Yellow Boat, I think we're very unique in the sense that we're really more like if anyone has encountered the term holocracy or holocratic, most of the growth. So the Yellow Boat now is present in around 200 communities in the Philippines, and it's actually the community leaders or the Yellow Boat. So we call them hope paddlers. the head per area is a public school teacher. And usually, what we found out is they're very passionate in helping the kids in their, specific communities, and they would go to us. Our these kids need a boat, these kids need a bridge, these kids need a classroom. But what we bring to the table, our strength is really, and I'm speaking in behalf of all the volunteers and the donors and everybody's involved in the project. We bring the resources of other NGOs and other organizations. So when I say Yellow Boat, it's not one organization. We bring, for example, we find out that the kids go to school on an empty stomach. So we bring an NGO that does that, nutrition feeding. So in Negros, for example, we work closely with the Grants and Volunteers for Change. They they invented this Mingo packs, which is 3 times a day. It costs I think 5 pesos. After 3 or 6 months, from malnourished, the kids become a nourished individual. So we work with this, and then we also have livelihood programs. So we have Adopt a Fisherman project, wherein we replace boats of fishermen who lost their boats because of a natural disaster. So a lot of the donations from Typhoon Odette goes to that project. And then we also have what we call Seeds of Hope, wherein we teach, especially during this time, we teach urban farming to, of course, not to all communities, but in communities where it is applicable. So basically, that is our strategy in terms of community building or community development. We bring in different resources and organizations to help a specific community. So it actually, in the 200 communities, it's very different. So in areas, for example, we have a community, the Pink Beach in Zamboanga. So we give boats for travel. So the tourists use it for travel purposes, ecotourism. Also in Cebu, in other areas, it's nutrition, livelihood. In other areas, it's mangrove tree planting. So it really depends on the specific requirements of the community. But the anchor project is the access to education. So be it, I would say maybe 70 to 80% of it pre-pandemic was boats, and then the others would be bridges, classrooms. But now, because of COVID-19, as a last note, as part of the COVID-19 efforts, we are actually providing electronic hubs, wherein we build out sort of computer labs in this adapted public schools. We give tablets, laptops, and computing devices. I would say maybe this is not apparent, especially to the private school system. We, in many of our areas, there's still no internet connection or stable internet connection. So what happens is the teachers would use the gadgets to download the modules. They print it. So we actually also give a big part of the donations that come in are to buy printers. And then I think some private schools are doing this. So they distribute the modules Monday to Thursday, and then it's gathered every Friday or Saturday, and then they give the new modules because most of the kids at their homes don't have access to the internet. So I guess the lesson here is that we really try as much as possible to adapt to the needs of the community. We sometimes we have this problem of falling in love with our solution, but I would say fall in love with the problem. Because the solution might not necessarily be a boat. Like the pandemic taught us, it's digital devices so that they can still access education. Thank you.
Jay, I love what you mentioned about fall in love with the problem and not really with the solution. I love that, and we have a teacher here. It's Nellen Paniza, and she said, or she, I hope I'm correct. Santa Maria Romblon, isa sa beneficiaries ng Yellow Boat. Thank you po, Sir Jay. So it's a small world, Jay. Thank you so much. And I love that you are pointing out how the idea of stewardship sustainability is anchored also on the context and needs of every community. I love it. There's another comment here, and Sir Allan, you mentioned about some projects about election here. This is very much connected, so it will be your turn na. In this coming national elections, may we choose a leader who has a heart for sustainable and stewardship in promoting the preservation of our mother nature. Sir Allan, how about in SEA? What projects do you have about in connection with sustainability and stewardship?
If you're aware of CAP as a community, we're an association of 1,500 schools and 120 school superintendents of Catholic institutions all over the Philippines. We have these pillar programs, yung tinatawag namin JIP-G. Nag-start yan sa JPIC, Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation. Nagsimula pa yan sa usapan ng Second Vatican Council, and then it evolved into PCP2. Now in CAP, we call it JIP-G, Justice and Peace, Engaged Citizenship, Environmental Education, Poverty Alleviation, Gender Equality, and Youth Empowerment. So, nandun yung nasa core nun, yung whole school approach. Yung 7 pillars na yon should be seen as a whole school approach in all our institutions, no? Kasama sa inaano namin, tinitingnan namin yung mga institution ng CAP. Kung meron silang mga kasama sa curriculum nila yung 7 yon. Sa environmental education, some of the schools are very deeply engaged with their communities in working out their respective community concerns. No, we have a school in Caraga taking care of the watershed there. No, sila nag-aalaga ng watershed planting. So that's incorporated in the curriculum, and then there are activities for the teachers, for the non-teaching personnel, supplementing what the other NGOs and the LGUs are doing to sustain that watershed. Kalbo na yung watershed several years ago, but with the help of the fathers at Tornillos University, no, it's now flourishing. It's a beautiful watershed area, and we have similar activities all over the Philippines. No, so our schools in Negros have committed themselves to planting mangrove. Kaya natutuwa ako, meron din pala sila activities sa Yellow Boat na gano'n, no? So Catholic institutions will be having activities na kasama yung mga communities planting mangroves because they realize that the mangroves are really protecting them pag may mga bagyo, may mga sakuna, no? So that realization has given them that idea that we should make this a project and we should commit to it. Other communities in Metro Manila are more into garbage segregation and then helping communities along the riverbanks, mga ganyan. And some of our communities are providing shelters from those taken from the riverbanks, no? Yung mga estero, tinulungan nila yung mga dinala nila sa lugar na malayo sa tabing ilog and sa tabing estero so that they will no longer contribute to polluting the rivers. So we have so many of these stories, and we continue on sharing all these ideas when we have our summits, the JIP-G. So those are just some of the ideas. When I was teaching in St. Scholastica's way back, no, I taught there for 15 years in the 90s. I was teaching economics. Ang lagi kong synthesis, yung last quarter ko would always be sustainable development. And that was in the 90s. Kasi na-inspire ako ng mga bishops when they wrote about what's happening to our beautiful country. And they relay the destruction of the environment, yung mga nangyayari, detalyado doon sa exhortation ng CBCP. So I tried to put that into my curriculum, and in St. Scholastica's we create our own curriculum. We do not follow the DepEd. Sorry, ako may mga taga-DepEd, no? But what we do every year is to research as teachers. No, we do not get the textbooks. We do our own research. We go to the primary documents and create our own curriculum for the year. So yun, laging kasama sa last quarter ko after basic economics, microeconomics, which is just a discussion of demand and supply and all the things that affect both, and then macroeconomics, understanding the whole economy and the policies that govern the economy. Ang end point niyan is really sustainable development. That's how all my classes would end in the year. But that's me, no?
Thank you, Mr. Arellano. And I love that you emphasize the different programs that CAP has been working with different schools. And I love this because it's really a direct support, or maybe something that we have expounded from Jay's idea of, different communities, different ways of really living out the call for sustainability and stewardship. Speaking of schools, I want to go to Mrs. De La Serna. Can you share to us some of the things that Savor School has been working on in terms of promoting and advocating for stewardship and sustainability?
very quickly, no, compared to the others, it will be very difficult to do a rundown of everything we do because, as you mentioned, we're a school. Almost every subject, let's say science, social sciences, our service learning programs, all have their different activities. If you attended the breakout sessions earlier, a lot of it were discussed. So I wouldn't really want to go through each one. But if I could just highlight one, but I'm not going to take credit for it because it's under the CMSO, our Campus Ministry and Service Office. They had a very specific service learning program wherein our grade 12 students interacted, for example, had a dialogue, a heart-to-heart dialogue with fishermen and farmers. And through that dialogue, they found out about the plight, the difficulties experienced by our fishermen and our farmers. And why do I say this is very moving, even for our students? It's because it brings them, I think most of our projects, most of the things we teach in the classroom, it brings a certain awareness. And I think that's where we start. They have to be aware first that this is the problem. And why do I highlight this activity of the campus ministries? Because very clearly, they're able to highlight the cry of the poor and the cry of the earth. Why sustainable practices, for example, are sacrificed for in that instance. No? So I think when we have dialogues like this, we are able to show the students that we cannot remove from the equation poverty, inequality, good governance, and politics. Like if we want to talk about stewardship and saving Mother Earth, for example, and taking care of Mother Earth, we cannot remove those things. They're very important. And that is why the roles of the school is very important, because it is through awareness that all of these are tied up, different subjects, different aspects. They realize that everything we do are interconnected. So I just feel I cannot really just highlight one thing we do in school. I'll need a whole session for that. But if you listen to the breakout sessions, they were very beautifully shared. I think as an institution, as subjects, as different departments, we're doing our part. And if I talk about impact, how do I know we're making an impact to our kids? I don't know, because we don't see the results right away. That is the sad part of being in a school. We cannot see if what we teach actually get retained, diba, in our kids. But if there's one thing I'm hopeful, being in the high school, we have high school committees. And the students, after being aware, are given opportunities for awareness, they become movers. They become creators. Because how do I know that? They initiate projects about sustainability and stewardship. And that is like an aha moment for me as a formator. Like, we bring the material, we bring the project, etc. But who actually thinks, diba, of the action part? It's our kids. They become the creators of the project. And it's just so beautiful to see. Very concretely, we have the Savior Model United Nations in the high school. We have the Green Team. It's a committee spearheaded by the students. All their projects throughout the year is created by the kids, because as educators, we did our part to bring the awareness. So I think I cannot name one. We just have so many.
Thank you, Mrs. De La Serna. I love the part that you've really highlighted, the part that education, for it to be meaningful and relevant, it's okay. We start with awareness, and from awareness itself, that's information, actually, awareness, information. But then we challenge our students. We give them the opportunity. How do you apply this? And as a CLE teacher, one of the things that are being asked usually is, how do you know that they're actually applying what they learn in your CLE or values education class? I mean, these are not, measurable immediately, right? Because sometimes they give answers in the classroom that they might not do when no one is looking at them, or they're on their own, right? So yeah, I love that part. And just to I just want to spend this I just want to welcome Miss Carmela Santos. She's here with us. She's the director of the Office of Ecoteneo of the Ateneo de Davao University. And hi, Miss Carmela. It's good to have you
Hello,
here.
good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sorry, late. I'm coming from another webinar. We're campaigning for yung trees to be saved sa Macabal Forest. But things are looking good naman. Na-spare naman sila from being cut down.
Well, we're happy to hear about that, Ms. Carmela. I think that's really an important webinar that you have attended. So right now, Ms. Carmela, just in time, we were asking our dear panel about projects that they have done about sustainability and stewardship in their school. So just in time, maybe is it okay if I ask you immediately? Maybe you can share some things that you have been doing also at Eco Ateneo.
Yes. Were you able to receive my PowerPoint?
Oh, sorry. We haven't
Pero
seen
sige,
it.
ako na lang. I'll sometimes kasi wait. We'll see, ha? I will share screen. Okay.
I think, yeah, you
Okay.
can.
Can you see this? Wait, let me see, ha? What can you see?
Yeah. You just need to play it.
Things are happening. Wait lang. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to start. What do you see now?
It's the unplayed presentation.
Okay, this one. No, I think I'm sharing something. Ako na lang mag-share.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we
Okay,
can see
okay.
now. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Sige. Sige. So I am Carmela Santos. Good afternoon, everyone. Carmela Santos on paper, Melay in person. I steer the Ecotineo office. The office is now a central administration office under the office of the university president, but we are embedded in our basic ed units. So the grade school and junior higher in Matina campus, we have two coordinators there. The senior high is in Bangkal campus. We have a coordinator there, and the higher ed in Nasito. I have a team also in Nasito. Ecotineo started as with the junior high school in 2011 as its articulation of the university mission and on the environment. So it was adopted by the grade school and later lodged in the university. But also in Jacinto at the time, there was something called also as Ecotineo, more on the environmental advocacy program under the engagement office. So my task today is to share our journey in engaging the youth, particularly in environmental advocacy and action. Okay, so when you see this, let me just, okay, allow me to share with you one of Ecotineo's birthday videos. We released one every June 25, which is our founding anniversary, to give you a sense of the mission behind and spirit of Ecotineo. Kindly tell me if the audio is good.
Wala po.
Stop. Sorry, yung video pa lang is...
Now okay.
I will try to.
Hanggang sa dulo ng mundo, hanggang maubos ang ubo, hanggang gumulong ang luha, hanggang mahulog ang tala. Basta mo ang aking mata, di mo ba nakikita? Ako ngayon'y lumilipad at nasa langit na. Gusto mo bang sumama? kailangan ang magtago't mahiya. Hindi mo na kailangan ang humanap ng iba. Kalimutan lang muna ang lahat ng problema. Huminga ka ng malalim at tayo'y lalaya na. Handa na ba? Gumala pa para pa 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 para pa 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 para pa 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 para pa 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 para pa 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 para pa 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 para pa 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 para pa 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 para ra 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 ra. Daming bawal sa mundo. Ang daming bawal sa mundo. Sinasakal nila tayo. Sinasakal nila tayo. Buksan ang puso at isipan. Buksan ang puso at isipan. Paliparin ng kamalayan. Paliparin. Buksan mo ang aking mata. Di mo ba nakikita? Ako'y lumilipad at nasa alapahan na. Gusto mo ba? 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 Sumama.
Latak tayo. Pero sana naman, walang iwanan. Chong, tropa tayo eh. Walang magbabago ha. Walang magbabago. Wala.
Miss Carmela, thank you so much for
Yes.
sharing about it. Yeah.
Ika-cut niyo na ba ako? One slide, one sentence ako para lang ma-highlight ko yung sagot sa tanong.
Sure po.
Mhm.
Yes, we can listen. We just have to make sure that the other panel also will have to share. But yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sige. So I'll do it one slide, one sentence. I think parang 5 na lang to. So yun. So we were asked yung the first question, to answer your first question about why we do this or what is this for. Tulad ng nasabi kanina, education is not solely an academic exercise, diba? It's for us, it's really formation that is formation. And so we share this vision that is beyond the physical campus in our home or city, but we share a vision of society beginning with our community that is lush and verdant and greenery. And this is the Ecotineo Vision Mission, a fruit of the 3-day apostolic planning led by the junior high school admin with the student leaders and faculty in 2011. So kaya we say that yung apostolic planning na yan was a reflection on the articulated environmental mission of the society at their General Congregation 35 in 2008. So thus we say that every Atenean is an Ecotinean, and it finds expression and deepening in the outreach programs and advocacy activities. How do we do this? Well, with lots of prayer and hard work. Sabi ni Pope Francis, we need to pray as if everything depended on God's providence and work as if everything depended on us. So Ecotineo was born out of 3-day reflection, and then nagkadaan na siya ng 3 strat planning ng university in 2016 and 2020, and now we're revisiting the plan again. And as a university community, we reflected on how, then we continue to reflect on how the environmental mission is animated in our affair. Enabling administration, holistic formation, transformative institution, robust research, and critical engagement. So we don't forget also the fun, the experience of nature, fun, and friendship. Diba? Yan ang language of the young. We become old only when we forget. So in junior high, we have a recognition of model Ecotineans classes. Sa grade 8, yearly we organize a class picnic for them and a nature trip. for classes who consistently observe Ecotineo practices throughout the year. So proper waste segregation, paper reuse, recycling, earth hour at lunch, etc. For grade school, we troop to the Philippine Eagle Center regularly to celebrate Pag-asa's Hatch Day every January. We're just sad not to have lost him during the pandemic. So fostering the love for nature in and outside the campus has helped. When in 2016, the Davao City Council voted to remove this 10% green space na requires developers to spare 10% of property they will develop 1 hectares and above for green space. So we worked together for the 13,000 signatures, 10,000 non Ateneo de Davao community on reaching out parents, students, our youth leaders, etc. And later on, naging 18,000 yun after. But the important thing was it was retained. No, we got the mayor's veto for that. Okay, next slide. Ayaw nang mag-down. Okay. So we also joined the roster of schools, no, who have declared who have declared themselves as SUP-free schools. So beside me here is Kale, Ecotineo student unit leader siya when in college at that time, and they spearheaded the signature campaign and may photo booth silang sinetap. And that was a prelude to the university president signing an SUP-free policy. He founded the SEED, Students Environmental Alliance of Davao, 3 years na yun ngayon. So doon nakikita-kita yung youth, young leaders from different schools sharing the same advocacy. So the best affirmation and hint that we are staying the course or on the green path is our young leaders themselves. Ito na yung, I think this is my last slide. So Amiel Lopez here is an education graduate who was recognized as the Bowenyo hero. I was also able to join him, and he was Ocean Conference delegate in Bali. He's a Jesuit Mission awardee, and he founded Project Jezebel, an ENVI education project with the Sama de Laot Badjao communities in Davao. Right now, he's taking his master's in Anthro. Yung picture here with the mangroves is Kines Rosales, who in her last years in the junior high, well, she's in college now in Manila, but in her last years in junior high, she spearheaded the mangrove refo in her hometown in Surigao. That's 5 hectares. Today, those trees are about her cute height of 5 feet. She was also awarded at the Film Fest for her documentary Hibong. For the Rojas Eco Market Initiative, mga mass comm students to ng college, a year after the SUP-free policy of the university came out, they made a study on how many plastics yung nagagamit sa Rojas Night Market, and then they promoted the bring your own tumbler, bring your own container, and later in the year, the city declared the Rojas Night Market to be plastics-free. Kailangan meron ka ng dala-dala ng mga tumblers mo. And of course, lastly, si Lem Manalo. When I met him in 2012, he was the first head of the Ecotineo student unit. Sila yung environmental arm ng samahan, the student council of the college. Right now, he's a colleague. We actually sit in the same committee, the local zoning review committee with the city planning. He's also an environmental planner and a very good research specialist. So marami siyang research. So in the NGO where he works for, that has been crucial in shaping the policy advocacy in Davao City. Challenges, challenges na nakita natin is consistency, how to sustain an enabling environment. If we want our students to be engaged, kailangan nakita nila yun lahat sa atin, di ba? And so yung switch may come slower for some individuals or for some offices, but ang important is continuing dialogue and personal and communal reflection. Bakit na ba natin ginagawa natin? And my last is we nurture a green campus, green homes, and sustainable cities because beyond climate change as an issue or problem, we want to celebrate the world as a joyful mystery to be contemplated with gladness and praise. Salamat for listening. Sorry sa overtime.
Sorry, oh, it's okay. Thank you, Ms. Carmela. I'm just gonna go back to the second question that we have. Father,
First pa ba yun?
yeah, so no worries about it. Father, I'm gonna go back to you and I'll repeat the question and then maybe double it down with the third question. So I know Father has been advocating. We're part of a group about planting bamboo, and he's very active, Minecraft and all those kinds of things. Father, can you share to us one of your project and maybe connect it with some of the challenges that you have experienced also?
I just gave talked to the United Nations Commission on Social Development about our billion bamboo project, asking them to help in technology transfer, processing bamboo pools, and building bamboo tissue culture laboratories. By 2030, 1 billion. By 2030, 1 million organic farmers network with urban poor, order taker and delivery officers using our e-commerce platform and our digital currency using Kusi. By 2030, 10 million out of school youth, education for sustainability. That means they will be taught to look at things as systems and the connections. Second, they will be given skills and attitudes that will help them build a better world. And third, they should be taught design thinking so that they could think out of the box, because we cannot solve the present problems with past tools. It's already the fourth industrial revolution. We're moving towards the fifth, and our educational system is still in the first for the most part. Still memory work and instruction-led, and it's a command and obey culture in the DepEd. You know, everything is done from the top. It's not trusting the teachers to do what is best. There should be a radical transformation of the educational system so that we can move towards the fifth industrial revolution, because right now we're dealing with kids who know artificial intelligence and blockchain technology and robotics and Internet of Things. And we are still teaching them to memorize things that they can Google in 7 seconds flat. And that's why, following the Lord, we have 2 universities and 9 colleges in the Philippines alone. New wine skills. New wine skills. That's why we are proposing a new theory of cognition, a new theory of learning. We call it the convergence theory of learning, that is based on the new story of the universe, that it's an expanding universe. New story of the atom, that it is now a VUCA situation because of the uncertainty principle. It's a new story of the human being. Our anthropology has to be seen within the cosmic perspective. And we are now in a new story of consciousness and mind and intelligence. It's embodied cognition. It is suma sa katawang diwa. That's why our policy is learning to think and thinking to learn. The main point, the convergence of systems thinking, analytic thinking, and design thinking. I wrote a book, The Lighting of a Fire, Transforming Lives for a Sustainable Future. Education is crucial, but if we continue just dreaming that after the pandemic, we could go back to our own command and control way of educating kids, hindi mo na matatakot ang mga bata ngayon. They are playing Mobile Legends and Genshin Impact. So I was given, my last point is, I was given the grant by the DepEd ALS. We are now digitizing 100 modules of the ALS curriculum according to convergence theory of learning. And as usual, the lessons are not integrated, just like the classes today. Bell rings, you study history, then the next bell rings, you study music, next bell rings, you study mathematics. There's no integrating, there's no convergence. So we would like to converge that. We will have an overarching narrative. We will show what the world, that's why I'm mentioning this, we will show what the world will be 100 years from now. Okay, it's all sort of a Mad Max, and then a kid, Alice, drop out, like Alice in Wonderland, will suddenly be transported through the time tunnel there, and then they will be sent on a quest. Every lesson will be a quest in the light of the story of Genshin. So similar to Genshin Impact, there will be an animated thing, and then we will gamify it. They could not go to the next lesson if they will not be competent in this lesson. You know, just like Mobile Legends and Genshin impact. Okay, so that's all that I'm trying to say. All that I would like you to remember is new wine skins. And let us count. Let us count what we are doing, because it's very nice to see all our points, something like that we planted this, we planted that, you know. How many have we planted? And how many do we have to plant so that we will make a significant impact to climate change? So now I would like to invite every school to join us in the Earth Climate Project. We would like 1 billion kids to use our app. There is the Earth Project app. It will tell you how much, you can record there how much plastic you took away from the ocean, how many bamboos or trees you have planted. It's now the 5th industrial revolution, and we are riding on that, and the kids like it very much. So it's the Earth Project app. You can search for it in the internet. So I would like to invite. In fact, I'm on bended knees because I'm old already. I will not be long in this world. I would like to be assured that there will be some hope at least. Otherwise, we will go back to the darkness. You look at our political situation, we're going back to the darkness. And 50% of Filipinos will vote to go back to the darkness. They are not educated well. They are not educated to think in the system's perspective. They are not analytical thinkers. And most of all, they do not know much about computational thinking and design thinking. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for overtime or for the overtime.
No worries, Father. I love what Father has mentioned. That's why we love Father. Father had been also speaking in some of the conferences in Xavier and even in EduTech, because the passion of Father includes also using technology, like he mentioned about gamification, the Earth Project app. I think that's one thing, you know, using the language of the youth right now to further drive the message that we have, the advocacy that we have. And Father, some of the people are asking Earth Project app, Father. Yes, it's called Earth Project. I think it's available in the Play Store and the App Store. So again, new wine skins. Love it, Father. Let me throw the next question, maybe our last question, also to Jay and Mr. Arellano. You know, in terms of the challenges, what challenges, one or two, and how do you respond to these challenges of engaging the youth? Siguro
Okay,
let's start with Mr. Arellano. Yeah.
Okay. Sige. In CAP, as I've said, we have programs for schools, and the schools themselves will implement these programs in their own respective institutions. We are an advocacy group, and we also work with government agencies, and that's one of the greatest challenges that's really that's regularly encountered by advocacy groups like an organization like the CAP. The government agencies do not always see the things that we see, no? So we have to really engage them into a deeper dialogue into what we really want to do, no? Like in the curricular arrangement, they require us to do certain things, and we have to go beyond that, and so there are always restrictions on what we can do. And and sometimes we could hinder what we are doing. And also, some policies are good for the public school system and are not for the private educational system. So our sustainability is affected. Our teachers migrate to the public school system because of the salaries they offer there. And the best of our teachers, some of the best teachers we have are not staying. And so we have to keep on giving orientation. We have to invest on teacher formation, and we have to repeat everything that we've been doing all these years, so that we'll have at least a steady supply of teachers who can teach in our schools. No? So that's what's happening. But in terms of sustainability, we've been working with international agencies. You know, the Pope has been very clear about the Global Compact on Education. No? Some of our schools are already signatories to some of the documents, because the Pope wanted the schools to commit to the Global Compact on Education. So there's a Global Compact, merong 7 the importanting dapat gawin ang mga schools, no? At ang tayo ang mga educational institutions. And one of them is, of course, for us to understand sustainability and stewardship of resources. So all of us must have all these programs as part of school, a whole school approach system. Mula sa curriculum, teacher formation, laboratories, our buildings will have to be totally integrated to what the Pope is saying in the Global Compact.
Thank you, Mr. Arellano. I know parang re-echoing what Father Benigno has mentioned also, no? It's a systemic approach talaga, whole school. And, it's good that we have pockets of efforts of work, but if we really want to make an impact also and answer these challenges, whole school approach, as Mr. Arellano has mentioned. Thank you, Mr. Arellano. Jay, how about you, Jay? Very interesting with your projects with the Yellow Boat of Hope Foundation.
Thank you, Jim, and of course all the others that I've shared. No, I really love what Father Beltran mentioned last in terms of, Father, I really didn't expect that you're gonna be talking about Mobile Legends and blockchain. From my end, I wear several hats. So I'm with Yellow Boat. I'm also running an incubation lab with De La Salipa. And of course, my engagement with Yellow Boat exposes me to a lot of other schools. We have a lot of public schools and private schools who are partners in the project. And let me just build on what Father mentioned. No, ako personally, I was born in Cotabato City. We were not everybody knows this, but Cotabato City was actually one of the first cities in the Philippines that had access to the internet. So 1994. I was with Notre Dame, so the Maris brothers were reporting back to New York. So they installed a satellite dish inside the school, and so we were one of the first schools who had the internet. So virtual reality, I was already VR, AR, I was already exposed to that. We now call it the metaverse. I'm really. I think the biggest challenge that we're facing, no, and this is not meant to put down or to I think it's really meant to rattle the current status quo or the bureaucracy. My biggest fear is that we will not be able to respond to the challenge of I think what I'm driving at is the students now have to become co-designers or co-creators of the education system. Meaning, I think if you can create a shadow board wherein, you have a student board of directors or board of trustees, because again, in terms of technology adoption, they're way advanced. There are many students globally now who are building what's called DeFi protocols, decentralized finance protocols built on the blockchain. You have 13-year-olds earning millions of dollars, and at what 12 years to 16 years of age, we will see more of those in the coming years. Axie Infinity, I'm sure everybody has heard of it. The Philippines is the largest country wherein we're having of mobile players with Axie Infinity earning slightly higher than the minimum wage. Based on my observation, there are thousands of these kinds of games wherein individuals can earn more than the minimum daily wage. This is gonna have a very big impact on the education system, because what will happen when you have 10, 12-year-olds earning more than the minimum wage just by playing 2 to 3 hours a day. And we will see more of this, as I guess part of the COVID-19, effect. More people or more students will be choosing, virtual-based or online-based schooling. Even parents will actually in De La Salipa, the students want to go back to school, but it's actually the parents who have voted, so far the no to face-to-face classes, because I guess the logistics of it, if one of the students gets positive, then it puts a strain on all the logistics. But again, I think the biggest challenge is, how do we make more, Father Beltrans, like for example, for SEAP, how do we make sure that, all the school administrators realize this challenge, that, I think it's like, you know, when the computers replace the typewriter. I remember as a last side story, I remember I had an aunt in Davao, and instead of she was, you know, the bank she was with was ready in the 1990s, was ready to promote her to bank manager, but she chose to retire because she didn't want to learn how to use the computer, and you know, the bank was requiring her to learn it as part of the promotion, and so she decided to retire instead of I'm not saying that it was wrong, you know, on her part. Maybe, you know, she wanted you know, to enjoy retirement at a young age, but I see this playing out, that, you know, we would need to adapt to the current realities. And you know what, I think the biggest challenge is now is like, how do we adapt to the reality wherein the students, you know, can get a lot of information online, and you know, there are online programs that are structured. You know, I imagine this like a Netflix type, wherein you have season 1, this is your module 1, something like that. That's coming. And a Filipina in the US is actually building what she calls proof of learn, wherein the while learning, the kid is you know, being given rewards, in monetary rewards to learn. So you're getting paid to learn. So that's being built. I think it's slated to be launched later this year. So those are the things that are on my mind. You know, there's the digital divide now, and then there's even a bigger you know, divide in terms of access to this new forms, new models of education. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. And before we wrap up, Ms. Del Cerna, you want to add something? Sorry, Chaveli, you're on mute.
Hello? Okay. So, just to get back to question number 3, no, very quickly for educators, when you talk about challenges, what are the challenges? One, we have a curriculum that we need to follow. Where do we put these things, diba? Like when I was listening to the keynote speaker early this morning, parang wow, this is so beautiful to do in the classroom, but let's admit it. There is a prescribed curriculum, and we as educators will just really have to integrate and make sure that we get to put sustainability efforts in our lessons. That's one of the challenges we have. Second, how do we make students realize that their daily choices all have an effect one way or another to the environment? They may be championing big projects, but it's really, there's a disconnect between what we champion and how we live our lives, and they have to realize that. That's the second point that I wanted to bring up. And then third, sustainability stewardship is a global issue, but it can only be addressed in a community-based in our communities, and therefore we really have to immerse our students in the communities that they belong to. The problems and the solutions have to be community-based. We cannot think of what they do in the US, what they do in the other world, because our problems are different. Poverty, government, everything is different in our country. So that's the third. And of course, lastly, I do not have anything against, for example, one-time big projects like tree planting, nothing against that. But students have to realize that when you commit to tree planting, it's not, I will plant a tree today and I will wish that it will grow on its own. Kids have to realize that if I commit to a project, we have to think of sustainable effort. Who will pay for the person taking care of that plant? Who will provide the fertilizer? Who will water it? It takes effort. It's like raising a child. We cannot have projects. So we need to somehow mold our students to think of projects that are really sustainable. Nothing wrong with tree planting, but how do we sustain those projects? So just to end, so that you won't have to call for me later. What do we want our students to be? We want them to be visionaries. These are the problems today, but it is in your hands that we can find solutions. And we might bombard them with doomsday stories like this is the end of the world, we're gonna be extinct, diba? Parang yes, we can bring that to their awareness, but at the end of the day, we should not stop them from dreaming. They have the answers, and our students are very good creators. They can find solutions to our problems. So that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Ms. De La Serna. And I just want to bring everything together, no? Sorry, we've extended our discussion, but this was a very fruitful discussion. And I have one challenge to the panel speakers, just one. I'm just gonna wrap it up, and I think the beauty is in the idea of community. Father Benigno Beltran works with a specific community, mentioned about ALS and everything, and we know if you look for Father Beltran's work, he's very much ALS based and ALS empowerment. And more than that, we have Jay working with different communities in Zamboanga. I know he has some communities in Camarines also. Mr. Arellano is working with the big community, as it's a national community. We have Chaveli and Ms. Maylay Santos working with communities in the school, making impact outside their communities also. So I love the idea that we can only solve these things when we work together. I think it's very cliche. We're in we're in this together, but I think that's really the one part of the one learning that we have. So my final challenge, and because we are pressed with time, if there is one word that you want our dear participants to always remember, what would that be? Ayan, no? Exciting. If there's one word, and also dear participants, you can also do this. Answer. Let's answer together. What is one word that you would take with you? Let's take your take away from this panel discussion. Ayan. Sino pong pinakamabilis sa atin sa panel discussions natin? Miss Lai. We can start with you.
Baka sabihin niyo nangangampanya ako pero yung word talaga is love. Nag-uumpisa at nagtatapos sa pag-ibig.
Thank you. Anyone could go with the panel?
Hope.
Hope.
Okay. Ako, witness. It starts from you.
For me, commitment. You can't see 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It's commitment.
And finally, Father. Father, naka-mute.
Values.
Values. Thank you so much to our dear panelists. It's been an honor speaking with you, listening with you. We have all learned, very passionate, visionary, and you grounded. You brought the discussion down into our communities and to our different contexts. So we are very happy and very thankful for for your generosity and presence. Thank you to our dear participants. They also participated, involved, creativity, responsibility, cooperation. Thank you, everyone. And this ends our discussion, our own sessions, but don't go yet because we have a few reminders and of course our closing. So may I turn this over to our host, Megan.
Thank you, Sir Jim, and thank you again to our panelists for your time. So your sharing, they were very informative and enlightening at the same time. So truly, everything we try to advocate for is for the future of our children, and these children are very much capable of bringing a positive change.